This is Amud Yomi Gemara in Shabbos. Daf Chof Amud Aleph. We're holding on the bottom of Yutesam and Beis at the Mishnah. Teaches the Mishnah in Tailin Basar Batal Ubeya. One cannot roast onions, meat, eggs on Friday before Shabbos. Like they should tell me, they have to finish roasting during the daytime. Ein noisnim pas letanorim chashecha. One cannot put bread in the oven close to nighttime. One cannot put a biscuit, a charara, a cake, al gacholam on the coals. It has to be karim panel, has to crust up the surface during the daytime. Rabbi Yezer that you have to do it enough time for the bottom to crust up while it is still day. The tachtoin. We can lower the carbon pesach into the oven close to nighttime and allow it to roast into Shabbos. And we're allowed to light the fire in the Beis Hamikdash on Friday close to nighttime. But to begvulin, when you're outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you have to only be able to light it on before Shabbos if there's enough time for the roiv, the majority of it, to catch fire. Rav Yehuda Omer b'bechamim kolshu. If it's a fire of bechamim, of coals, then it has to even be able to light a kolshu before Shabbos. So we begin with the first part of the Mishnah, which was the batzel and beya has to be roasted during the daytime. Says the Gemara. Now that term in the first part of the Mishnah that says Kadesh Yotzailu is pretty vague and ambiguous. So Vikama, how much is that roasted? Amar Rav Elazar Marav, a very important statement. Tisha Solme V'Yoyim Kameichel Ben Drusai. It has to be enough roasted as what we call Meichel Ben Drusai. It's Renami Am Ravasi Rav Yechon Koshu Kameichel Ben Drusai. Ein Bay Misham Bishal Akum. Because that's the point, that it's edible. Drusai was a robber. They ate his food on the road. Therefore, once food is edible, once it's at the point that this robber would eat it as he goes, there's no longer any problem leaving that cooking into Shabbos. Similarly, there wouldn't be no problem of Bishal Akum once it's cooked to that level by a Yid. Tanya, we learned similarly, Chananya Omer, Koshu Kameichel Ben Drusai Motel Hashem Gabi Kira. Once you're at the point of Meichel Ben Drusai, you're allowed to keep it cooking into Shabbos. Even though the oven has not karafikatum, the flame is visible. Chananya says it's mutter, and of course that is the ikr psak halacha like Chananya, as much as the Chacham argue that once it's Meichel Ben Drusai, it's mutter. Just to point out, lamaisa we're machmer lechatchila. We want our food to either be fully cooked or we want the flame to be covered. But meikar hadid, once the food is Meichel Ben Drusai, there's no issue letting it cook going into Shabbos. We continue with the next part of the Mishnah. Noistin pas l'tanor. We're about 10 lines down at the two dots. Ibayluhu. Tachton heich ligabe tanor. What does tachton mean? Is that the part that's against the oven? Which is the bottom? The fires in their ovens came from the top. So and here's the bottom. So is the bottom the part touching the hot surface, or the part facing the flame? From the surface that's touching the oven. So must be that's what it means. The tachtoin. We go into the next part of the Mishnah. Mishalshan is a Pesach, lower the carbon Pesach, my time. What's the reason that by carbon Pesach we don't have these regular xeras that we spoke about in the first part of the Mishnah? Meaning, why are we not worried you can come to stoke the coals? Why does it seem you can put the carbon Pesach straight into the oven right for Shabbos? Answers Gemara B'Shem Chabura. The reason, hey, in the Bnei Chabura are Zaris. Everyone is going to be there. They'll make sure no one comes to Machal Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Halav Hachiloi. It sounds like without that detail it would be Aser. Ay, Vamar Bar, Gadu Ben Sharik, Ben Loi Sharik Shabbatam. We learned the other day when it comes to Gedi, which of course is that which the Karban Pesach is made out of, whether the oven is sealed or not, it's mutter. Answers the Gemara, Hasam Mitnach. Over there, it's cut into pieces. That's why it's a mutter was by us, and therefore, it's a bigger chiddush over here that you need the reason of that to b'nei chabura are zaris in order to be mekel. In the middle of the Amid, 2 dots. First, we're allowed to do machizin SR in the base ha'maikon, which is the fire before Shabbos. You're allowed to light it right before Shabbos. Says Gemara Menahani Mili. Amar Rav Huna lo yisvar eish chol moish v'yiseichem, says the pasuk. B'chol moish v'yiseichem miyat tamavir. It's a din only in moish v'yiseichem. Avala tamavir b'duras b'yisamoikad. You're allowed to light a fire even on Shabbos. And of course, this is the unique chiddush that not everyone is aware about, that in the Beis HaMikdash, they brought karbanos on Shabbos. It's cooking. You're allowed to bring a karban for Hashem on a Shabbos. So too, you're allowed to machizin esar, you're allowed to light close to nightfall. Meaning right before Shabbos. If you can light the fire even on Shabbos if need be, certainly you can light it right before Shabbos. So Matzler of Chisda, Ihachi, the Kash, everyone's wondering. Afilu b'Shabbos nami. Why are you telling me that right before Shabbos, we just said you're allowed to do it on Shabbos? Elam Rav Chisda Kraki, also when the pasuk comes to be mutter, is the mishrei eivarim u'pitarim u'da'asa, is only the burning of the fats and the limbs. However, the burning of the fire, lighting the Beis HaMikdash, that has to be done before Shabbos. Koranim's reasoning, and therefore the Koranim are zaris, and that's the reason we're not worried anyone is going to come to stoke the coals, else they'll be careful that no one will be mechalel Shabbos. And we're at the 2 dots, ubigvulin and kadesh shetechais. About 20 lines to the bottom. The first one line is shetechais, that in the gvulin outside of the Beis HaMikdash, when you light a fire, it has to be the roiv of the fire catches before Shabbos. And of course, the obvious concern, because if not, you'd be fanning the flame, you'll be stoking it to make sure the whole thing catches fire. It says, my roivin, what does it mean by roiv? Amarav roiv kol echad ve'echad, the majority of each and every stick in this fire. Shmuel Amar no, k'deish l'yamru havi eitzim v'naniach tachteyan. What does roiv mean? Roiv means at the point that it's burning, that you're not going to ask to bring more wood to get it started, because it's already all on fire. Tani Rav Chia l'sir l'shmo, Rav Chia taught a brayso zarayah to Shmuel, k'dei she'im shall have as oilem eileho. The brayso says that the flame shall go up on its own. So that's the same gather that we're saying over here. Once it's lit to the point that it's burning and it doesn't need any more human intervention, that's when it's allowed to be continued into Shabbos. Eitz Yechidi, says the Gemara, a single piece of wood, Rav Asar Roiv Avyav. Rav Amar, that Roiv Avyav, the majority thickness of the item has to be burning before Shabbos. V'amrila, and some say, Kiroiv, B'roiv Kefoi, the majority of the hekif, the circumference. Amar Abba, being on Roiv Avyav, being on Roiv Kefoi. You need both, the majority of the thickness and the majority of the circumference burning. Says the Gemara, as much as to us, maybe we don't understand burning wood so well, but says the Gemara, Kitanai, this deep detail, whether it's the majority of the thickness or of the circumference, is machlokes tanoim, as follows. Rav Chia says a single thick piece of wood, only be lit on Friday if there's enough time for the wood to be ruined literally by the fire, to be used by the Uman. Rav Yehuda ben Meseira has to catch on both sides. As the pasuk says, the 2 ends are consumed by fire. Inside is parched. Can it be used for the work? So says the Gemara, these 2 shitais really are 2 shitais, whether it's going to be the Roiv Avyav or the Roiv Hekefai. And we conclude with one more pasuk about burning wood, as the Achlaf name Ores, and the Ach is burning before him. What does that mean? My Ach, Amarav, Achvana. It's Achvana. Shmuel Amar Isa Sheniliku B'Achvana. Means wood that caught fire amongst brothers. Either it means, in Rashi, on Achvana says, it's like more of a lulav, a willow tree, etc. Who damar leho, man boy Achvana, who wants Achvana? Ishtakach arvasas. They brought him arvasas, aravais. No, not lulav, aravais. That's what Achvanasa is. Amar Rav Huna. No, we're going to stop right over here. So Rav Huna will pick it up teaching us about other types of fires, how much has to be burnt going into Shabbos.